Hey everyone, Retire on Dividends here, back for video attempt number 2 to talk about Tesley versus Tesla. I made this video before, 53 minutes it took. The video was fine, the sound worked, but for some reason when I upload it to YouTube, there is no volume. So I don't know what happened. YouTube doesn't know what happened. They said wait 24 to 48 hours. It's been over 24 hours and still nothing. So here I am. I'm just going to redo it. It may not be as good as the original, but I'll do my best. So anyway, the point of this video is to talk about why is Tesley going down so much when Tesla is not. Because a lot of people, Tesley is like a love-hate stock. The people that love Tesley, man, they love it. And the people that hate Tesley, oh, they can't, they love ripping on Tesley investors. But, it's easy to say this fund sucks or this fund's great, but it's harder to actually understand what happened. So that's why I'm here today. I'm going to explain what happened in the Tesley price from inception as it is compared to Tesla. What you see on the screen here on barchart.com is just a quick comparison 1 year out. This is not inception, but it just shows the 1 year chart. Tesla in blue, Tesley in black. So obviously, Tesla is beating Tesley. So, on a visual basis, anyone can look at this and be like, oh my God, this fund sucks, right? But, it's easy to just say things versus actually understanding. So that's what I want to look at here. So I made this little spreadsheet, and I'm not going to drag this on 53 minutes, at least I hope not, doing this on my lunch break now. But what you see here is obviously the date, then you'll see Tesley price for that date, Tesley change in price for that date, then Tesla price for that same date, and then Tesla change for that same date. And then what I'm tracking on column F is the Tesley inception to date change. So the change in price adding together from inception, and then the Tesla change from the same time period, from adding each day on to the next. And then we have the variance, between the two. This should be a formula, F3 minus G3. So this shows basically who's winning. So it's Tesley minus Tesla. So if it's positive, Tesley is winning. If it's negative, Tesla is in the lead. And then we have the variance change. This shows how much the lead changed one way or the other, right? So if we see a positive here, you're showing, what is it, H5 minus H4, right? So if it goes up, and it's positive, that's a Tesley in Tesley favor. If it's negative, that's in Tesla's favor. Okay, hopefully that made sense. So if you look in the very beginning, right, the first few days, Tesley right off the bat went up 2%, and that's because they sold them calls right away, right? They opened that synthetic, they sold them calls, they made 2%, and then Tesla. They lost 0.19%. So day one, we were in the lead. Tesley was in the lead 2.18%. Okay, then moving down, we get into purple. Purple represents a 2% shift in Tesla's favor. So if we look here, Tesla moved up 7.67% in 1 day. Tesley moved up 5.4% in 1 day. And why the difference? Well, it's because the calls. So Tesley has what they call a synthetic position. It's a buy call and it's a sell put for the same strike and the same expiration. And all that position does is it mimics the price of the underlying, in this case, which is Tesla. Okay? However, they use those synthetics, all of them, most of the time, to sell calls. So at the same time, they're selling calls that are out of the money, but only by a specific amount. So if you look here, on November 30th, they only gained 5.4% when Tesla gained 7.67%. So this just shows you they didn't go far enough out of the money to capture the total income. Okay? I'm sorry, the total capital gains. That's what I meant to say. So anytime you see purple, that's going to be the reason, okay? So this day, Tesley lost out on possible 2.27% capital gains, all right? And that's just the beginning. So let's move on. Again, I'm going to kind of go through this fast, but as you can see, you'll look at the variance change. There's a lot of days like December 10th, for example, Tesla went down 6.27, Tesley went down 5%, and Tesley won that day, okay? And we'll keep going. And then here we are, another purple. So what does that mean? That means Tesla went up a lot and Tesley did not. So in this example, we have Tesla went up 8.08% on December 29th, 2022, that is. And then Tesley went up 6%. So this means that their call was capped, okay? So we lost out on 2.08%, which sucks. I mean, nothing you could do about it. Obviously, when they sell calls, they're not doing it, in most cases, far enough out of the money that we can get rewarded all of the income. If you look at December 28th even, they had 3.31% gain. We only got 2.63%. So, all right, let's keep moving on. And just so you know, the variance, right? The variance is still positive. So we are, Tesla is still doing better than Tesla. It went down to 7%. And look at this date. December 31st, Tesla dropped 12% in one day. Could you imagine? And then 8.48% Tesla dropped. So Tesla did better, mainly because, their calls, when they sell calls on a weekly basis, that's a bearish play. So if Tesla goes down, it's in favor of those calls. So the value of those calls, will be, it'll be in the favor. It'll increase the NAV. So we have a 3.77% variance change. And here we come with gray. This is the first gray, I believe. This is ex-dividend date. So ex-dividend date is always going to be in Tesla's favor. So here we have Tesla went down 7.5%. Tesla went down 0.77%. So yeah, there's nothing you could do about ex-dividend date. Again, they control what they pay. So hopefully they're paying what they can afford. But, when the amount that's dropping is you're getting paid for it anyway, we're not going to count against that, this comparison overall. But let's see. It is in the numbers still, just so you guys know. And we'll remove it and show you what it looks like at the end. So here's another purple day. So Tesla went up one day, 7.43%. Tesla only captured 3.2%. So we lost out on 4% in one day. So you can imagine the damage that could be done, over a long period of time if we're not capturing these drastic swings in price. So if we keep going, yet again, another purple day. Tesla went up 4.91%, and we couldn't even capture that. We only captured 1.39%, okay? And that was, January 20th. The next day, luckily, they probably opened new positions maybe, but Tesla went up 7.74. We went up 6. Great. And here we are, 2 purple days in a row. Tesla jumped 10.97% in one day and then 11% the next day. What did we capture? Basically nothing compared. We captured about 4.8%. So we lost out on about 17% gains on that one day, which is insane. That's insane. Again, if we're losing out on a capital appreciation of 17%, how do we expect our fund to ever go up? It's not, right? And I know with these funds, we don't expect capital gains, but with a different, with a when you lose out on this much, it just it adds up. It adds up. So variance on column H is now in the negative 20%. So this is now in Tesla's favor. Oh, and here we are, another purple day. Tesla only went up 3.78%, and we captured 1.27. Yes, the day before, Tesla went up 4.73. We captured 5%. We probably did, we did some calls that day too, so we got some premium, which brought us in the lead. But the next day, we probably got capped out that same day, and here we are. We're only gaining 1% on a 3% gain, which sucks. Here's a gray day again, ex-dividend date. So we're not going to count that in as a negative, because we're going to get paid that money, so we could put that back into the fund or do what we please with it. Now here we are, 2 days in a row. Tesla went down 5.69%. TSLY went down 3.2%. This is actually in our favor. So TSLY went up 2.49%, right, compared to Tesla. But then the next day, Tesla went up 3%. We went up essentially none, and then they got it right back. So that was like a wash. And here's another purple. Tesla went up 1.77%. We went down 1.23%. I do not know what happened on this day. This was February 22nd, 2023. But we lost out on 3%. So whatever happened, we took a hit. Maybe they rolled a synthetic. I don't know. But the damage was done. The variance was now at 30% in Tesla's favor. Moving on. Here we have, again, the gray is ex-dividend date. So 4.29% in Tesla's favor. So they're now at 28% over us. Here's another purple. Here you go. Out of nowhere, Tesla went up 7.82%. And guess who wasn't ready? Tesley strikes were not ready. We only went up 3.7%, right? So, but the good part is Tesla also dropped 3.25% the next day. So, although we lost out on 4% capital appreciation, those same contracts look to have been still open. So, those same contracts recovered 2.7% of that. And again, let me just explain that if it's not making sense for you guys. So again, in purple, we had a strike price that got, it got capped out. So Tesla price, the strike could have been at 190. Tesla price went to 197. So we are capped. Let's just say 195 actually. The strike was probably at 195. Tesla went up to 197. We are capped. Tesla gained 7.82. We only gained 3.7. Okay. Now, that sucks, but if Tesla goes down, which it did the next day, our premium, the value of the premium, it was becoming a debit for the call, for the weekly call. That's why, the debit on the weekly call is going against the synthetic, because the synthetic for Tesla that we have on Tesley will go up 7.82%. However, the debit on the weekly call, when Tesla goes above the strike, that debit is going to push against it. We're going to have to cover that difference. But if Tesla drops now closer to the strike price, it dropped 3.25% the next day. So guess what? Our weekly call, that debit is shrinking. And when that debit shrinks, our NAV, is going to look better and better. So I don't know if that made sense. I hope it did. But let me move on. I don't want to drag this video on too long. March 31st, Tesla went up 6.24%. We only captured 3.54%. So we lost out on 2.7%. But here we are the next day. Tesla just dropped all of it. And we didn't, we kind of recovered. We only dropped 4.64%. Okay, so 1.48% in our favor. Here's another gray, ex-dividend date. Again, 5.4% shift. So Tesla is in the lead, 33%. Oh, now here, this is a good thing. When we go from X date to X date and you see no purple, That means we're standing pretty. So look at the variance changes. Okay. Positive, good for us. Positive, negative, small amounts. There's a negative. Another positive. This is good stuff. Nothing, we weren't hurt during that period. So we went from gray to gray, X dividend date to X dividend date with no 2% changes in Tesla's favor. So that is a good thing. So we did pretty good from April to May. Let's keep going. Oh, we got a purple, unfortunately, because Tesla, out of nowhere, 4.72% jump, and we captured 1.16%. So we lost out on 3.55% capital gains in one day. So yes, that's very damaging. If you look at the next day, maybe they closed out the position. They went up 4.4%, 14%. We captured 3.51%. It's pretty amazing. So I'll take that. Oh, here we go. Another purple. Tesla jumped 3.11. And what did we jump? 0.45. Again, we're not capturing because we're selling calls very, barely out of the money, I'll say. Not enough to capture these swings of Tesla. Okay, here's the X dividend day. This one did some damage. Look at the variance on row 197, 44%. Okay, and then we got X dividend date. Then we got two purples. So we had an X dividend date, 5%, and then we have a purple. Tesla went up 4.58. We only captured 1. And then the next day, Tesla went up 4%. We only captured, a 0.5%. So, excluding the X dividend date, really, we just lost 7% almost. So now Tesla is winning 58%. And we're not through a whole year. So their yearly dividend is around 58%. So it's not just the dividend. Okay, we went pretty good till X dividend date. That's good till July. Moving on. Here we go, doing good in July. All right, no drastic changes. X dividend date happened. That's good. July was a good month. Here we go, August. Damn. Here we go, Tesla, 1 day jump, 7.33%. So unpredictable, right? It just pops out. Boom. And then here we are. We gained actually a pretty decent amount. We gained 5.24% when they went up 7.33%. But do you know why? Look at the days before. So we probably had an existing strike that was, probably barely out of the money. And then it went, the price of Tesla went down so much, and then it jumped back up. So guess what? We were able to recover those same, that same decrease. So I wouldn't say we would have recovered 5.24% if we were flat those 4 days, right? We probably would have been capped at 3% or whatever they sold the call out of the money at. So anyway, the purple did some damage, 2% we lost out on. And then we have two more purples here. August, man, killer. But these two purples were kind of like an onset offset, which is okay. That's why I highlighted them. And then, boom, Tesla jumped. 7% is the number, man. Tesla jumped 7%. We captured 1. So we lost out on another 6%. So here we are, 70%. Tesla is beating TSLY by. Two purples in a row. This one, luckily, onset offset. So you could see, TSLY only dropped 1% when Tesla dropped 5%, but probably because of our options. But then the next day, Tesla jumped 4%. We jumped 2%. So I'm not sure what happened there. Here we are, X dividend date. That's okay. But then we have a purple. Look at this. Big jump in one day. Tesla went up 10%. What did we go up? Not even half. We went up 4%. So 6% loss. Not loss, but we lost out on 6% potential. And the day after was probably the weekend. That looks like a Friday. And then Monday looks like it dropped again, which, it dropped 2.23%. Again, we didn't drop all the way because some of our strike probably recovered from that. All right, let's move on. Here we go, October 6th. That's okay. X dividend date. We know about that. Moving on to November. X dividend date. Here we go in red. So this is a big day here. This is a big week. This is the 2/17/50. Very famous day. Not day, days, I should say. So we lost out. on a lot of gains here. So if you can see, Tesla went up 4.22% on 11/11. We went up 2%. Okay, they weren't done, right? It looks like it was the weekend, and then Monday Tesla went up 6.12%. Tesla went up 1.3%, and they were done. That's it. They were capped. And then Tesla continued to go up 2.29%, and then actually Tesla went down by 3.34%. So if you look at the variance change for those 3 days, 3 trading days in a row, we're looking about at a 9% loss. Like we lost out on 9%, capital gains. And I was tracking the fund then, right? So I have the TSLY November file. If I go to the calls here, I had the cursing face. This is back in the day when I was tracking it a little differently. My spreadsheet used to be really ugly. I think it got so much better. I don't know what you guys think, but so they used 34,000 contracts, 34,755 contracts, which was all of them, and they did a 217.50 on November 10th. So what was the price on November 10th? It was about 214. So that's barely out of the money, right? So if we go back that same day, that same day, November 10th, Tesla went up. Looks like oh no, that was the day before. But you can see what happened after that, right? Tesla went up 4.22%. Tesla went up 6.12%. Tesla went up 2.29%. So this 217.50 from the 214 position got absolutely hammered when they went to 242. Wow. So yes, they took, they got the most gains in premium, which was 7.5 million, you'll see under column K. But row 18, on November 15th, they had to pay $88.6 million to close it. The damage was done. So that was a terrible, terrible day. But I think the fund manager did learn. And they also got lucky, but they did learn because they've been doing good since. But here's my question to the Tesley fund managers. I understand you want to make the most income for us. So if you want to make us the most income, why don't you look out for these massive upswings? You don't have to sell barely out of the money to capture the most premium, because if it goes wrong, look what happens. $88 million. You know how long it's going to take to make that up? And I know, you could just pay return of capital the whole time because this loss destroyed us. But what if you just went out a little further out of the money? Then these massive upswings would not, be as damaging. But the 217.50, it's like ingrained in our heads, guys. I don't know if they know that, but I gotta make a 217.50 t-shirt on the little merchandise store I made. So that's why it's in red. That was a rough time, but the good news is, watch this. That's November 15th, 23. Okay, we're numb, right? But look, scrolling along. Okay, nothing till X date. Great. Scrolling along. Nothing till X date. Outstanding. Amazing. So I made a little note here. Since the 217.50, look at column H419. I'll click it right here. Since the 217.50, the variance change was in Tesla's favor by 2.85%. But guess what? Guess what happened since the 217.50? We had 2 ex-dividend days. One, 5.27%, and another, 4.51%. So let's take out 10%. We're essentially, Tesley is beating Tesla by 7 to 8% since the 217.50. So yes, there is hope. But why is it beating? Why is Tesley beating Tesla now? Well, They are still selling calls barely out of the money, 2 to 3%, but they're getting it right because Tesla is going down and down and down, or barely moving up, or staying flat. So as long as that's the case, Tesley will beat Tesla. But when the time comes with these purples and the drastic upswings, if we're sitting at our 3% out of the money, we're going to lose out. And the same thing will happen. So this is exactly why Tesley is not doing as good as Tesla. Because look, if you take from inception, $20.04 I'm showing. I'm sure that may or may not be right. And then we look at January 12th. And by the way, today is January 16th for context. If you look at up to January 12th, they lost, almost 50%. It went down 984. We got dividends. We got about 968, which is 48%. So essentially, Tesla total return is flat from inception. But the reason for that is not because of Tesla. That's not because of Tesla, because Tesla did what it had to do, right? Tesla, during that same period, here I'm tracking here, it looks like it went up 19%, right? So Tesla would, it's not in the negative during that time, that same exact time period, but it's, as it was dropping and going up and dropping, we were dropping with it, right? We were dropping with it. And then keep in mind, yes, as they were dropping, we were making premium. However, we pay out that premium, okay? So we're paying out that premium. So essentially, the premium income is a wash. So what we're trying to do is make premium while still tracking Tesla the best we can. And in order to track Tesla the best we can, we have to sell calls enough out of the money that we can capture the most appreciation that we can. And no, this is not them talking. This is me talking. The perspective is clear. This is an income fund first, okay? And then second is tracking Tesla. So that's why we are where we are, because their primary objective is to capture income. But the main problem I see in doing this on Tesla is it's so unpredictable. And the worst part is the implied volatility doesn't even reflect that. It's not even 50%. I don't understand. How is it not 50% when it jumps up 7% out of nowhere, right? These changes are so drastic, it's very hard to capture them. So, in my opinion, they should scatter the strikes every single week. If they want to do a 3%, fine, but that's got to be the lowest. They got to do a 3, a 5, a 7, or a 3, a 5, a 10, or even sometimes 15, right? If they think it's going to go up. Maybe it depends on the IV. But who cares if we sacrifice yield, right? It doesn't have to be 55 to 60% all the time, right? If Tesla is in such a bear run and it's going to flip the switch at any moment and it's unpredictable, then why not just play it safe for a little bit and just scatter them, right? I think they should scatter them all the time, in my opinion, whether Tesla's in a bull run, bear run, whatever. Just because, when you do all of the contracts at 2-3% out of the money and Tesla goes up 15% in a week, we're just sitting there like, we captured 3%. Tesla captured, 12%. But guess what? We close out the options, we take the loss, and next week what happens? Tesla drops 12%. And we went all the way down with it. So yeah. Anyway, let me just give you some more bad news if this were to happen. And again, keep in mind, I am a Tesley fan. I own Tesley. I own 1,700 shares. I've never sold any, and I don't plan on it. However, I do not like how the weekly calls are being done. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But more times than not, I think they're too risky. So let's say Tesley goes down 50% every year. And believe me, I do not think this is the case. If I did, I would be out of the fund. But let's just say Tesley goes down 50% every single year. Okay, so after, we're looking at 24. We're currently in 2024. My cost basis is $14.82. I haven't bought a damn share in a long time because I'm so highly allocated. But, Tesley pays a 60% yield, but they pay that based on the price of 10.20. Now, that's a distribution of 6/12. So, based on that distribution, what is my yield? My yield on cost is 41%. That's very respectable. It's not 60%, but it's 41. 41, not bad. But over the year, if Tesley goes down 50%, guess what? Tesley price is going to be 510. If they're paying 60% on 510, that's only 306. My yield on cost is going to be 20%. Because again, my mistake there, but I'm very highly allocated on Tesley. So again, this is assuming I didn't buy any, and lower my cost basis. And if I didn't, now I'm looking at a 20% yield on cost. So if the same thing happens the following year, 2026, it'll drop to 255. Again, I know a reverse split will happen. The numbers still will be the same, but yes, a reverse split will happen by then. So they'll pay 153, which now my yield on cost will be 10%. 10% is still good, actually. But 27, we're looking at yield on cost 5%, and then 28, 2%. And you know the story from there. However, I do not think we're going to have as bad a year, as we've been seeing. Now, sure, we can have a possibility of 15%, right? Is that more reasonable to think? Even that is high, in my opinion. But if it goes down 15% a year, then in 5 years, I'll still be yielding 21%, okay? And by then, I would have earned all of my original investment back, right? So now it's house money. So that I'm okay with. If it drops 50% a year, I'm actually okay with that. I don't want it. I don't want it to. I want it to stay flat. But if it's 50%, fine. If it's 10%, even better. Even 20% I can manage. But it can't do 50%. And it just shows when they play aggressive, it could drop 50% because it did. So, granted, Tesla has been on a downward trend, okay? It's been on a downward trend. So things should get better in time. So I am still a believer in Tesley. I know this video may change a lot of people's minds, but it's not changing mine because I have faith the fund manager will make the right decision going forward. They have to. There's a lot of competition coming out, right? So, and when that happens, for example, TSLP, that's the curve fund, they sell so far out of the money that they are taking all of the capital appreciation of Tesla, right? Let me take a sip of water. So yeah, check out what they're doing, and be alert, guys, be alert. But just, pay us 30% yield, sell 10% out of the money. Fine. Scatter the calls, 2%, 5%, 10%. Great. Anyway, I'm just going to stop rambling, but I wanted to show you guys from inception up until at least January 12th, what happened. Why is Tesley so far down? Well, one reason is, if they didn't pay dividends, you wouldn't have lost any money, right? Because total return, we're essentially at zero. However, there's money left on the table. There's capital gains left on the table. I'm not even sure if this 19% is right, by the way. What did I divide that by? 419, 35. Yeah, that's what it came to. But, if anything, it's more for sure. Because I'm showing what Tesla changed 35%. Adding all together. But maybe some formula screwed up. But whatever. 1935, we left money on the table, right? Because as Tesla price drops, so does our distribution. And if our distribution drops, so does our yield on cost. So yes, we need price to stay flat. We need it to stay flat. If it goes down, it just can't go down this much, all right? It can go down a little. Like I said, 10%, 15% a year. That's acceptable. 50% a year, that's not acceptable, okay? So hopefully they learn, you know, this is a brand new fund. So it's hard. I can't even imagine how hard it is to sell calls on Tesla. That's why I don't do it. People say you should do this. No, I can't do this. Well, number one, I have a full-time job. I'd get nothing done. I'd be staring at the screen. Number two, I don't have the time anyway, or the knowledge. You have to look at every single factor in the market. You have to look at every single factor in Tesla, all the news coming out. This demands a lot of effort. So I do greatly appreciate what they do. They do a very good job. And I'm very happy they came out with these funds because it changed my whole way of thinking. It changed my perception on retirement. And I'm very grateful of these funds. However, I think they could do just a little better job on Tesley. If you look at the other funds, they're doing pretty well, but those aren't as volatile. So they're volatile enough to make a respectable yield. If you ask me, Tesla should be like a 70% volatility for what we see, but it's not. I don't know why. Anyway, that's all I got. I'm going to end it there. This is not financial advice, by the way. I'm not a financial advisor. This video is for fun and entertainment. For those of you that are new to this channel, just watching, just so you guys know, I do cover Tesley and Coney trades on a daily basis. I cover what moves they did, what moves the fund manager did, and what it looks like going into the rest of the week, so on and so forth. I also cover the Defiance funds, the three of them, QQQY, JEPY, and IWMY, but I cover them weekly. Outside of that, I show my journey to retire on dividends. I plan to retire on dividends within 10 years, hopefully. My wife is going to retire, hopefully this year. Not retire, but take a break from working and watch the kids. Hopefully, while my dividends and or YouTube income can support that, that gap. But anyway, yeah, for me, I'm sharing my journey to retire on dividends, hopefully within 10 years, using these aggressive funds on top of some less aggressive funds, on top of some safer funds, and so on. Anyway, that's a mouthful, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And if you want to prove that you made it this far, please type capital R dot lowercase o dot capital D dot. And that shows to me that you made it through the video. And guess what? I'm just going to be very grateful, and I'll give you a thumbs up and a heart, if you do write that, because it is greatly appreciated that you guys do watch my content. I do appreciate it. All right. Anyway, I got to go. I got to eat something before lunchtime's over. All right. Take care, guys. Later.